Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome everyone into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology turned podcast. Everyone, welcome into the program. I hope that you're doing well and you are ready for today's program because it is July 3rd. Tomorrow is the big day. And everyone, I hope that you have some fun festivities. Hey, maybe do some grilling. Take your food, put it out on the hood of your car. It should cook up nice and quick, and have a nice little outing. But everyone, before we get to the weekend, we have, you may have guessed it, Mr. Nathan Evans. He is here with us with Calcopia. If you haven't heard of them, then where have you been? They have a great eclectic mix of everything from tech reviews to stories to movie reviews, and of course their own podcast. Everyone, you should really go check it out. But we have the managing editor here to talk all about, today's stories and head into the weekend nice and fresh and caught up and ready for the next week. So everyone, once again, thank you for tuning in. ComputerAmerica.com is where you'll find everything, including past shows, future shows. Everything that we do here with Computer America, you can easily find on our website. So with that being said, let's just go ahead, bring Nathan on, and have a fun little show. And then, again, head into a fun-filled 250th anniversary of America. So everyone, once again, Nathan Evans, welcome back onto the program. How you been?
Hey, man, and I just want to thank you for acknowledging the important event today. People have been waiting a long time for this. I know this country is a strange place, and sometimes we want to pull together. We have our differences, but I think by finally celebrating the one thing that really matters, we're going to get back to basics. And I just want to know, how are you celebrating Taylor Swift's wedding?
Yeah, very true. Very good. I could not get a booking into Madison Square Garden. I am, like most Americans, I'm going to be sitting in traffic outside of the venue. So, I think that brings us together. Too close physically. Absolutely. Very true.
I live in Kansas City, and naturally, half that couple is here, right? Mm-hmm. And as you know, Kansas City is just a little smaller than New York City, right? They're very similar in size, just very similar, just a little difference. So I was down walking around because we're hosting the World Cup right now. So we have a lot of visitors from a lot of places, way more than normal, like double, right? And so there have been suspicious signs that they're going to be doing something, that couple's going to be doing something in Kansas City because he owns a restaurant here. He's from, he lives here, has houses here. So no, thank you. Stay away. Go somewhere else. Clog someone else's city up, please. Yeah. We can't do that.
Honestly, I saw rumors on social media a week ago, and it's Taylor Swift is the gravity of her stardom, and of course Travis Kelce has his own gravity as well. That it's so massive that who have zero interest in this whole thing, a week ago I was hearing rumors, and honestly, I'm kind of surprised at how low key it was. I know they're renting out half of New York City. I know that lots of people are going to be, there, and it's a big celebration. But how suddenly it went from 1 week rumor, next week it's happening as we speak.
It's PR. The whole thing is PR.
Let's just say I'm surprised at how low key Taylor Swift is keeping it. It is kind of low key. So.
I think that's part of it. I think they're doing a lot of charity work. They're donating a lot of money. They're doing this and that because they don't want to usurp America's birthday. But I think they're totally going to usurp America's birthday for a lot of people.
It's all well, good and fun. But hey, we're not here to talk about T-Swift and Swifties and all that good stuff. We're here to talk about tech news, the thing that everyone cares about way more than pop culture.
You're going to go back to you're going to go look at the metrics on this episode, and you're going to why did I spike in the first 2 minutes? And why the drop off? What did we
Nathan,
talk about?
I am going to tag this episode with as many T Swift, Swifty, Travis, Kelsey, and Swift. All of the hashtags are going to be nothing but Taylor Swift.
Let me tell you.
Zero Tech, all Swift. Yes.
One final Swifty story. When she came to town a couple years ago to play a big concert here, there was a city next to mine that renamed one of their streets Taylor Swift Street. There were people around the block waiting to meet Taylor Swift, thinking they were meeting Taylor Swift. Instead, they were waiting in line to take pictures of the street corner. And even when they found out it was not her, it was a street, they still stayed.
Yeah.
These people are, say what you will, they're dedicated.
Yep. There's definitely a disease going on. But with that being said, speaking of disease spreading, let's talk about Calcopia.com real quick. And before we get started, just give the nice folks an introduction to the nice folks that you corral every week and poke with hot sticks to get them to write reviews, articles, and more.
Sure. So as you know, we transitioned away from our old digital home, Pop Zara, into Calcopia. Leaving the soft P for the hard C, so to speak. But I just want to give a big shout out and thank you to Nintendo, because God bless you, because you guys released a game this year called Calcopia. And now I don't have to explain what opia means anymore. I don't have to explain why opia was such a good suffix for a name. Thank you, Nintendo, for merging Pokemon with opia for Calcopia, because you've made my Calcopia life way so much easier. And this whole thing I'm saying sounds like a Dr. Seuss rhyme, but it's been a life send trying to explain to people why Calcopia was such a good name and why it wasn't like a medicine that you get from your doctor.
Pocopia did do a lot out there to kind of raise the awareness of your suffix, but
yes.
But honestly, you guys really do cover a wide gamut. So it's always fun to, even if you're not into video games, even if you're not into books, if you're not into, just tech reviews and stuff, there's always at least something else in there.
Look at that picture behind you. Like here's what I like about this site. Okay, on the front page we have Toy Story 5. You've heard of it, your brother's heard it, your dog's heard of it, right? Toy Story 5 does not need any help. We reviewed it. Got a good review from my editor. But the book that was reviewed behind you, look at that. I guarantee you, Ben, you've never heard of that book. And if you have, look at the premise of that book. The premise of that book is a drug addict drug lord gets murdered by his henchmen, and he gets reincarnated as a newborn baby. And now he has to navigate his toddler years, fully cognizant of that he's a reincarnation of a drug dealer, to plot his revenge against the people who killed him as a baby.
See, so you have movie reviews, you have nonfiction reviews. This is good. This is good stuff. This is good.
Yeah, exactly. It's like what we like to call in the industry a gamut, a spectrum, and it's fun. It's different. You want to do something a little different, but at the same time, you want to do something well, because those two things don't have to be, but often are mutually exclusive. So yeah, for all you out there who want some advice about writing, drawing, creating, whatever, you can be different. Originality is great, but if you don't do it well, then no one cares. So
there you go.
Do it right, do it well. Be derivative if you have to, but do it well.
There you go. It's it's a lot of fun. So we're going to have that link in the show notes, but also our segments here, we really focus on just making sure we put a nice little ribbon on the week and talk about, current events. And some of the stories we have are, a day or two old, but that's okay. Definitely want to, really talk about it here on the main program, because, some of these stories really came out of left field this week. If I could just kind of direct the conversation to start, we can talk about Fox entertaining a bid for Roku, or wanting to. I think the rumor is.
Did they buy it, or are they still in the process of acquiring it?
Well, let's see. So they're planning to acquire Roku. It's $22 billion in cash. Which, by the way, kudos to Roku. I had no idea that they, $22 billion worth of programming, but. Still, I think they put in a bid, and obviously I think it has to go through the whole shareholder voting kind of thing, but it's probably going to go through. When Fox wants something, Fox gets something. But yeah, I personally didn't see this coming. Roku seems like it was really thriving on its own.
Well, they're an island in an ocean, and as you see media consolidation, everyone's grabbing this, grabbing that. Roku, remember, for a lot of people don't know this, Roku, they're not just like the OS that runs your cheap TV. They do programming as well, like you mentioned. And Fox purchased Tubi a while back, and Tubi has become my favorite streaming service. Can I be honest? Because Tubi gets it right. Tubi gets the whole mix of ads and an enormous amount of content right. Like I got rid of Netflix. I got rid of a lot of stuff. You know, the only I think I pay for one streaming service right now because Tubi satisfies that itch. Like you don't go to Tubi and say I want to watch a great movie right away. Now you go to Tubi like I'm going to watch crap while I'm eating, and I don't want to like stare at endless tiles like on Netflix, the Netflix doom scroll, and let Tubi pick. It's like going back in time and watching like TNT or something.
Did just want to jump in here real quick and just kind of throw out that Fox already owns Tubi. Fox owned Tubi from the get-go. So they were, and Tubi was, to your points, was and still is their most popular streaming service. Yeah. So the two were already pretty hand in hand.
Exactly. And I was going to say with Roku though, what Roku does though, Roku will give Fox millions and millions and millions of like advertising windows right in your home. Like that's what Amazon's been trying to do with their, with their Amazon Fire TVs, is they're trying to find a new third way to market to you. And we've all heard the horror stories about all this crap. I think Vizio was one of them that did this. Roku may have been the progenitor, where they're going to start showing you ads on pause screens, ads here, ads there, and that's what Roku does. I have like 3 Rokus in my house because we run a rental. And every one of my rental rooms has a Roku TV in it. Not because they're necessarily the best, but they're the best at the best price. Do you know what I mean? And I should say Roku doesn't make the TV. Roku runs the software that the TV runs. I should say that.
Mostly Roku used to, and I think they've broken this in the past couple of years, but they used to really be TCL, I think. They were big partners, and every smart TV was a Roku TV from TCL.
And by the way, fantastic combination. Like TCLs are great. Like if you need a big monitor in your house and you don't want to buy like a gaming monitor, get a TCL TV. They're basically a monitor. But no, we'll see what happens with this. This is just what happens because this year alone, we've seen governments in the EU and America block mergers from companies that were desperate, like Spirit Airlines. I think in Europe there was a EU regulation that stopped the merger of what was it, iRobot, the company that made Roomba. Yep. And now one filed bankruptcy and Spirit's gone. I might be the only human being on the planet that's sad that Spirit's gone. But that was my cheap ticket to Vegas. But what I'm saying is
iRobot was a weird one, just to jump in there. iRobot was a weird one because one of the things that they were trying to sell off to, kind of save their bacon and, as like a selling point was honestly millions of floor plans of their users' homes. So, floor plans themselves, I don't know how much value that had, and obviously it wasn't enough to save the company, but they were definitely throwing that out there, being like, hey, pay us some money, we have floor plans. So
20 years ago, Google secretly built the world's largest spying organization with Google Street View. Because they weren't just going ahead and giving you a fun way to do this. They were cataloging entire urban ecosystems and streetways and pathways and stores and storefronts and homes and everything. And we live in an age when data, thank you AI, is the most valuable thing of all. And if a company out there has one artifact of data that nobody else has, like floor plans, that's valuable. Think about it. If you're designing a product for your home, you want to know the metrics of a house, the way it's inlaid. You want to know where to put smart speakers. That information might as well be gold. You know what I mean? Like it's probably worth every penny of it. So I'm sure some data miner will scrape it out of the corpse.
There you go. Well, yep. And so you're just saying Roku acquisition, it's like you said, it's probably either already gone through or on paper it's already inked and the ink is drying. This is just going to happen. So, but Fox does have this incredible content catalog. It's just, having the content just isn't enough anymore and by the way, You might be able to explain this to me a little bit. Fox, Disney owns Fox. This whole thing, like, I'm always confused why these companies still operate, kind of the way that they do, and like, why isn't this story Disney buys Roku? It's Fox buys Roku. I don't know why all that. I'm guessing because Fox is still like the cable company and whatnot, still serving ads, so that's probably the more direct tie-in. But like, Disney owns Roku now, right?
I don't know. Remember, there are different layers of culpability, and a lot of times when companies buy it and they merge and they buy it, they're required by the FCC to do separation businesses. I'd have to look into this one more. I was confused too. I almost wondered if this particular offshoot of Fox was a separate entity, because when Disney bought Fox, they actually erased, they committed Fox erasure in a lot of their marketed branding. Like 20th Century Fox is now just 20th Century.
Yeah.
Fox Searchlight is now just Searchlight Pictures. You know this if you've seen any Star Wars movie lately, which nobody has. But but as far as this, I'd have to look into it, because there's such a web of how these companies are allowed to operate, because they may overlap into certain other things. And Fox, before Disney purchased, was a monolith. I think didn't Rupert Murdoch own most of them, or a percentage of them?
So and just like this particular kind of part here of the article saying that Fox is still the NFL, MLB, NASCAR, Big Ten, Fox News, Fox Business, so I guess they're rolling it into that part of the company. It's their kind of live content, not panels, but the shows and the networks and stuff. So it's not quite Disney, but I'm sure it's just going to be owned under that. So
it's so interesting, Ben, because we didn't even talk. Well, I think we talked about the big one earlier this year. Where you had Warner Brothers trying to buy
Sky.
I'm sorry. Netflix trying to buy Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
And then there was a competitor with, was it Paramount? Then Paramount launched a bigger bid. Then the U.S. government. Well, certain players in the U.S. government, I should say, launched aggressive retaliatory, investigators against that. But I think the FCC okayed the Paramount Warner Brothers bid.
They did.
And so we're just talking about media consolidation on top of consolidation. It does seem to be that everyone is against monopolies and everyone is against media consolidation if the wrong companies are the ones monopolizing and the wrong companies are the one consolidating. So right now, I don't know if you know this or not, but we live in very contentious political times.
Really?
And so, yeah, I know. But I would say the people in charge right now are more receptive to these mergers. Can I say that?
Yeah.
They're much more receptive than others would be. So
more
we'll see what happens.
And you kind of touched on it earlier, more receptive than like the EU, for instance, because, some of these are blocked through, legislation over there in the UK and the EU.
I'll just say this. I'm not particularly conservative on this idea of media consolidation. But like I know in the case of Spirit, the argument that if Spirit and JetBlue were to merge, then jobs would be lost and this. Well, congratulations. You just lost a lot more jobs. So you can cut off your nose to spite your face, but at certain points, the market is not forever. Things change. The situations change. Conditions change. Like if you continuously force companies into one particular mold that was cast a long time ago, when the world no longer needs that mold, then you are destroying a company that is not all being allowed to evolve with times. So I would say, it's crazy. I don't know. I think this is a good thing for Roku, to be honest with you, because I can't imagine that Roku is going to survive like a bloody bath with Amazon and stuff like that. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
I think Roku, made its very successful niche, but growing outside that niche, because I think they tried making their own TVs for a little while, and I think they tried to, make their own content for a little while with, not just licensing others, but to make their own movies.
They made a movie.
And whatnot.
They made a movie.
Yeah.
And that one movie kind of ties into another story we have. Right. That movie was the Weird Al Yankovic fake, biography, which was very funny. The one with Harry Potter kid.
The totally accurate Weird Al Yankovic biopic, for sure.
It was very funny, by the way. Very funny.
Mm-hmm. But no, actually, I did want to tie. You said something about things change over time, and I wanted to tie that into another story, which made a lot of news. I want to say like 2 days ago. People have already moved on a little bit from it, except if you play video games, and then this is the end of the world as we know it, and Sony will stop making discs for the PlayStation games starting in 2028. And this whole thing started, if you want a little bit of background, was I think it was GTA 6, which is highly anticipated, probably just like another 5 years out. It's right around the corner, so we have to start talking about this.
Oh no! This thing started years ago. On this show, we talked about this, and we go back to that episode because we made some predictions back then when Microsoft announced they were selling Starfield, the game on the Xbox. There was that funny story about that moron who stole a crate of Starfield discs or boxes. Turns out he couldn't do anything with them because there's no discs in the box. Microsoft a long time ago stopped selling physical media. A lot of people don't know this. Like they don't pay attention. They haven't sold physical media in years. You buy a physical box at the store, open it up, you get a piece of paper with a code on it.
Yep.
So the reason we're talking about it now is because the rest of the world caught up. And so Grand Theft Auto 6, like you said, is going to be a physical box with no media in it. It's just going to be a piece of paper saying, here's your code, redeem it. We've been building to this a very long time. And there's a couple reasons for it. And I love how you said people are over it. There's some people who are slitting their throats over this stuff. I'm sorry, but don't do that.
Yeah, do not Sudoku over not getting a physical which by the way, like I have moved on from physical media for a long time. I guess just because I moved away from consoles a long time ago, but like I would not say that my one personal lived experience is everyone's personal lived experience. I will just say, as someone who has moved over completely to digital, I use Steam for everything, and I use the PlayStation Network, and I use this, that, and the other. Going fully digital, it obviously has some drawbacks, but the convenience is so nice, and it's hard to say that the industry isn't going that way.
No, go to Best Buy, right? They don't sell Blu-rays or DVDs anymore. They don't sell CDs. Like Walmart doesn't sell a lot of physical media. It's because about 10 years ago, every company under the sun decided to go, most companies decided to go to the subscription model, because why get $100 for life? We can get $10 a month. Mm-hmm. And there's psychology about this, about how people think they're getting a better deal if they break it up. And that's not true, but they feel like they're getting a better deal, right? So, but long story short, Sony's doing this. This is inevitable. Market research suggests that 80% of all PlayStation software is sold digitally. That's not just the big games. That's when you consider like digital media, DLC, older PS3, Vita stuff, like conglomerately. Not conglomerate. There's another word for this. Yeah. All in a big muck. It all sells digitally, and physical media, and regardless of a DVD or Blu-ray, or even a triple layer Blu-ray, doesn't cost as much as like a chip to manufacture, but there's manufacturing costs associated with it. And people should know that what Sony's doing is they're trying to eat their cake and have it too. They want you to physically go to the store and physically purchase a box and then physically bring it home and physically open it. But they don't want you to physically have the game on the disc. They just want you to go to the store, because this is a big reason. Walmart, Target, every major retailer store out there, they rely on this avenue. They need something in the store.
The foot traffic, for sure.
Yeah. Sony stopped selling digital codes years ago. You can't buy a PlayStation 5 game on Amazon digitally. You can't do it. They don't sell it. You got to buy a PlayStation point card. You got to add to your account. They're the only ones that do that. Microsoft, Nintendo, you can still buy digital codes, right? Steam, you can gift a code to somebody, right? People are mad, but they're mad for the wrong reasons, Ben. And we could talk about, I told you before the show, we could talk about this for a week and not touch it. But they're mad for the wrong reasons. And I hate to say this, and I know I'm going to piss someone off, but you guys got to grow up. Okay, you guys got to grow up. Okay, I'm sorry. You're having a bookshelf behind your angry video full of all your bona fides and all your games that you collected doesn't make you better. It doesn't make you hardcore, because you never touch those things. You're like, I love physical media. You don't play the damn games, and if you don't take care of them, they degrade. They rot after a while.
There are people who have reached out to the show repeatedly, still complaining about the end of their favorite online service, their favorite online video game. Their Zune no longer working. And I'm not marginalizing anyone who does that and reaches out to us and says, I'm still mad that they got rid of my my headphone jack on my phone and stuff like that. But I got to say,
I'm still mad about that one, by the way.
That's okay, and that's okay to be mad. And what I'm saying is, it's okay to be mad about that. It's just realize that you can be angry, you can be upset, you can hold that grudge for as long as you want until the day that you die. You need to have the majority on your side. You need to have the trend on your side. And if you don't, please stay upset and voice your opinion, but you're not going to change it, unfortunately.
Well, here's the thing, though. You can still get mad. I'm going to give you a little lesson. If you want to be more effective in your caterwauling, here's what you do. Stop being mad because you're not getting a shiny disc. Okay, first of all, Grand Theft Auto 6 ain't fitting on a disc. Okay, the thing's going to be like 300 gigs. Okay, there's no media that can hold that thing. Okay, so that's the one thing. Oh, we could put it on multiple discs. Okay, that's harder than digital because the moment you take those discs out, all of the discs have been for years. If you bought any physical disc in the last 5 years, you know this. You put that disc in your slot and you press go or it turns on. The first thing that disc does, it triggers a download to eliminate all the crap on the disc. Because that disc that came out of your shiny box was obsolete 3 months ago. Because that code was finalized. That code was, that code was burned to that disc 3 months before that game came out. Because that's how long the overlay is. So they call it day one patches. The moment you put the game in, that code's relevant because all you're doing is re-downloading the game. That's a patch. That's the patch. You're re-downloading the entire game over again.
According to random AI Google search thing, they estimate about 90% of modern console and PC games have day one patches. So exactly what you're saying. Well, the vast majority.
Okay, that's the first thing. So know your battles. Okay, and the second battle is even the games that do ship aren't complete. Like the Indiana Jones game that came out 2 years ago, the big one, only launched with 20 gigs on the disc. You have to download the rest. Many games do this. They'll put like collections, and you got to download everything. So know your battles. And another thing, you guys didn't complain when they got rid of instruction manuals. Okay, I'm still pissed about that. Instruction manuals were cool. No game has launched with an instruction manual in 20 years. Okay, here's the thing. Here's what you get mad about. You don't get mad that your big shiny disc is gone. You get mad because the argument has to be the moment you open Grand Theft Auto 6, Ben, and you take it out of that PlayStation 5 case and you put in your PlayStation 5 and it just triggers a download or whatever, you own the game now. Now, this is a big problem. This is a problem. This is where we intersect. You can't sell that game anymore. You can't let your friend borrow it.
Yeah.
You see, with the disc, you can do that. You can let your friend borrow the game. You can sell it back to GameStop. You can give it to someone. You can't do that if everything's a digital code. So right away, you lost your ability to do the secondary market. That's a real concern. That's a real concern because now you're basically effectively doing first-hand purchase and people know that you don't own the game, you license it, whatever. But now you have no recourse. You're stuck with it.
Someone, of course, drew the parallel, and it is very involved in this exact same conversation, that the same day that they decided to go full digital was the same day that they removed 650 movies from their PlayStation catalog and essentially just deleted them from their account saying, hey, we no longer have the rights to sell this. So even though you paid money for it, you don't have the rights to watch these anymore.
There's a second to that. They're also closing down the PlayStation 3 and Vita stores back in 2027, which means you won't have access to those softwares either. Mm-hmm. So Sony's doing this without a solution to the fact that there's no way to retain digital ownership past a sell-by date. And again, that's a problem that doesn't exist with most physical things in the day. You have people still trading Nintendo games from 1985 and Genesis games from 1993 and 3DO games from 1995 and PlayStation 1 games. And what Sony's saying is, well, that's gone. It's yours now. Same with anything else that's digital. So the trade-off has to be, there needs to be some compensation. So if I'm not paying $80 for a physical game that doesn't cost anything to manufacture, what's in it for me? You're getting rid of my ability to sell it. You're getting rid of my ability to let someone borrow it. What's in it for me? What's the trade-off? And Sony's like, nothing. Nothing.
Well, the trade-off is great for them, but yeah, for the consumer, nothing.
But also though, Ben, here's the thing: your local library. If you go to your local library now, I bet you $1 million. Your local library has PS5 games to check out. Not going to happen anymore. So the secondary market is gigantic, and what people don't understand, they call it the gray market. People say, "Oh, but GameStop, used game stores, vintage stocks, all these other third-party ones, local libraries, thrift stores, everything." They're not going to have access to that anymore. So they're instead of someone who can't afford $1,000 PlayStation 6 or whatever it's going to cost, it's going to cost $1,000, by the way. I was right about the Steam box. I'm right about this. You can't go and get old stuff anymore. So they've now exclusivized it, and they've taken the ability away for you to spread it. When we were kids, hell, when I'm adults, people borrow games all the time. I got a copy of Pragmata for the Switch 2 from the library. I didn't buy it. Beat it, give it to my roommate. She played it. She didn't beat it, but she played most of it. Other people saw it, goes back to the library, other people play it. So you can't have that anymore. So what you're doing is
back in 2004, my friend Joey borrowed my copy of Star Fox 64, and he's still borrowing it. It's really a great system.
If he's still borrowing it, he probably stole it at this point. It's been 30 years.
Any day.
Well, it's funny you mentioned Star Fox 64 because that was what I was going to mention next. I swear to God. So Nintendo has shown you the way again. They've done really good on this. So Nintendo's version, because they don't have discs anymore either, they have cards. But Nintendo's version, I think, is something. Here's the third thing, and we'll move on from the story. They have something called game cards. We talked about this. It's a little piece of plastic with no game on it. Now you say to yourself, it's all digital. No. So you go to the store, just like Sony. You buy a plastic box, just like Sony. You take the game out. There's no game on it. You put it on your Switch 2. It triggers a download. This is how it is right now, by the way. They have this right now. And that download, it will download the game to your Switch. Okay? You play the game, you enjoy it, whatever. You take the game out, you take the little piece of plastic out, put it back in the box. You can sell that game. You can let someone borrow it. You can bring it back to your library. It's a fully digital game that's tied to the game cart and not tied to your account. And that is very, very different than what Sony is doing, because they're doing the same thing Sony's doing, going fully digital, but still allowing you to retain ownership and transferability in the way that Sony is not, and Microsoft or even Steam is not. Now, here's the third one. You mentioned Star Fox. Guess what game came out last Friday on the Switch 2?
I'm guessing Star Fox, yeah.
A full 100% completely remade version of Star Fox 64. And it's awesome. It is one of the best games of the year. If you haven't played it, you like Star Fox 64? You'll love Star Fox. Here's the thing. If you go to the store and buy Star Fox physically, it costs $60. If you buy it digitally, it costs $10 less. It's the first game in Nintendo's new scheme where digital games cost less than physical games. Think about this. So Nintendo is doing cheaper digital and full retaining of ownership for digital carts, whereas Sony, $80 for the whole thing, no transferability, no retainer ownership. So Nintendo is doing it right, or at least better, and Sony's really kind of screwing the pooch on this.
Well,
so if you're
and I just want to throw out there that the for everyone out there who thinks, wow, yeah, that does sound like the consumer's getting the short end of the stick. It is not done. Be it California, be it,
absolutely.
Be it EU,
no.
This is not the end of ownership and digital rights.
But I think Sony will relent a little bit because Microsoft, I put this in the story, Microsoft's probably going to go to this too if they even survive. That's a big question mark if they even continue in this industry the way they are.
I did read, and this is getting totally off topic. I want to stay on this one just for a little bit, but I did hear Microsoft is open to selling Xbox, so we'll see.
That would be like after World War II, where the United States, was victorious, and you have a burned out Germany like, we're going to have environmental regulations too. Okay, Germany, but you focus on other things right now. You need to rebuild. But no, I think Sony will do something very similar to Nintendo because it's the only thing that's going to happen. There's going to be too much kvetching about this. Is that you're going to need to have some sort of transferability of ownership, and honestly, I can easily just see them creating a chip card like Nintendo does. Like that would be like what, $2? Whereas you know what I mean? If you buy something from the store or something, it retains ownership to that physical media as opposed to a CD or DVD. Like there has to be some compensation to continue this transaction. I imagine that will come from Walmart. I imagine that will come from GameStop. I imagine that will come from retail. Like they simply cannot screw over their customers like this because it's going to be a hard sell when grandmother buys a game, the wrong thing, and then she can't return it, or it's for the wrong platform, or the grandkid doesn't have internet. Like it's going to be a really hard sell for that sort of education, especially when there's no benefit to the consumer.
Yeah.
Like there needs to be a benefit. If there's a benefit, like Spotify, you pay what, $15 a month for unlimited music, but you don't own anything. But the trade-off is you get unlimited music, whereas a single album is like $20. So there needs to be some compensation if we're going to switch over. And finally, my last thought, and this is a quick one, as someone who just got hacked to hell and lost a lot of my online accounts, there needs to be a better regulatory system. If you're going to go switch everything to digital, that means everything will be tied to your PlayStation account. Let me remind the audiences, Sony has been hacked to hell many times. They're famous for being hacked and having their accounts stolen. So if you're telling the customers, trust us, no, you're the least likely one I'll trust out of all of them.
They're going to hear you and they're going to be like, Nathan's right. We're going to implement age verification and ID scanning. So
just like Europe. Yeah, just like Europe. But no, I mean, something's going to happen. So I don't think we've heard the end of this story yet. But please, here's my PSA, my call to action. Please, YouTubers, please, social media people, you are embarrassing yourselves. You are 40-year-old, 50-year-old men with gray hair complaining about toys. If you're going to complain, if you're going to make those angry videos and you're going to burn your PlayStation, you're going to cancel, do it right. Because you're not making the case. You're making the case we should have done this sooner. You know what I mean? It's just, oh my God, it's so embarrassing, Ben.
Yep. So we're not done with the story because I wanted to get some of the reactions to it, and I'll include these links in the show notes if you want to go check them out yourself. But this is just a random,
the fun ones,
yeah, all of the responses to it. You have things like G Fuel saying they are also exiting the physical space, and you can download their drinks through digital means only.
I saw the Domino's one.
Yeah, the Domino's ones as well. They're also going fully digital pizzas. They can download a delicious range of their pizza codes, and using the power of imagination, enjoy them entirely virtually.
Well,
so
that one made me think of Back to the Future 2. You remember Back to the Future 2 where she's making a pizza, she just takes a little pocket out and hydrates the pizza?
Yep.
Why can't we download pizzas?
True. You wouldn't download a car, would you? And yeah, this whole page is just full of, just about everyone had a statement of, they're all going either from physical to digital only or from digital to physical only, which actually leads me to this other one that I have up here. We'll include it in the show notes as well, which actually by the time that you are hearing this, you probably will miss it. But from July 2nd to the 4th, GitHub, that one, the one with your code. They are offering I think it's every day or just the first 1,000. The first 1,000 people to submit their code, GitHub will, obviously after you pay them, they will mint your code onto CD-ROMs and then send it to your house so that you own it, you share it, you have your code for as long as you want it. And just again, a little tongue-in-cheek response to Sony here, but still funny that everyone's kind of piling on Sony for taking this turn.
So, well, I'll just say this. I mean, they had to do this. I mean, the media is dead. I mean, the media is just, that's like saying let's stick with floppy disks. People don't remember before floppy disks went away the dodo, you were getting PC software that had like 20 floppy disks in it.
Yeah.
25 floppy disks. And when CDs came along, they made that one CD-ROM was bliss, but it had to happen, but we need to transition to something that allows the consumer to retain some form of retention ownership or transferability of license. That's what needs to happen. Like you wouldn't just buy a single-use car. Oh, I bought the car, it's over. This isn't tissue paper. These are investments.
It's really a continuation of the conversation, which we're not going to have today. But
yeah, exactly. It's a huge conversation.
It's a continuation, really an extension of the conversation of John Deere tractors is always the one, but the right to repair. Do you own the piece of hardware that is running on a piece of software that is dependent on regular maintenance?
I will say this. Yeah. I will say this. You remember years ago when Microsoft had Windows 10, I think it was, and they made the controversial thing where your license was tied to your configuration of your hardware.
Yeah.
So like if you changed your motherboard, you had to buy a new license. Remember that?
Yep.
That shit lasted for like a day, and they quickly took it off, right? But the fact they thought about it, and people forget this too. Xbox One, the console back in 2013, if you bought a game, you weren't allowed to let someone else borrow it. It was tied to your account back then. This was 13 years ago. That lasted for a day before Sony mocked it. There's a commercial out there where Sony mocking Microsoft doing that. So this stuff, if there's enough legitimate outrage, so I'm not suggesting you don't get outraged, but please don't do it like a child, because they will treat you like a child. Do it mature and have a good thing. And if it doesn't work, go to Nintendo. They're doing what you want. They have the better games anyway. Go to Nintendo for a while. Skip PlayStation. Go to Nintendo for a generation. Have some fun.
They chose such a kind of low risk, high risk, kind of situation by saying that Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to be kind of the one that they're going to test this out on, because everyone wants that game. That game is so long in the making.
They say that now, but that is not how the history of marketing works. Like when Disney bought Star Wars, they thought we could do whatever we want with Star Wars. They're just going to go eat it up. You know what? This year had a Star Wars movie. No one saw it. You know what I mean? Like anything can die. Anything can die. And just remember that, companies. No company's too big. So
no king rules forever. Something like that, right? So
something like that, yeah.
So okay, let's transition away from that and let's go to some of these other stories. I wanted to, and just we could do this one real quick. Ladies and gentlemen, AI is a thing, and it's taking a lot of computer chips, and that is driving up the cost of everything. And for those who have not like just completely head in the sand, I'm like almost there. Obviously with Computer America, I'm a bit more in touch with things, but I will say that I built a whole new PC, and I'm so glad that I did like 2 years ago. I missed this completely.
Me too.
Nathan Evans, I will tell you, the RAM, I was just like, yeah, sure, 64 gigs, whatever, just throw it in there. It was the difference of like $100 versus like $250, and I'm like, this
seems like a good deal now.
This PC is gonna last me like 5 plus years. This is gonna be great. And now, those who don't know, your RAM, depending on what you get, can be more than your graphics card. Is probably one of the most expensive parts of your build. It's crazy. So why I say all this, because we have the story here. We'll include this one in the show notes, but of course you can, this is just Xbox's, kind of press release. But between Apple, Microsoft, Sony, and even Nintendo got caught up in all this. These same computer parts that are powering data centers all over the world and AI learning models and stuff like that, it has influenced gaming. Gaming, unfortunately, shares such a close space with this that it's catching some of the fallout, and that's why you have now, Nathan, usually 3, 4, 5 years after a console comes out, it's at a pretty good price. It's very attractive. Instead of it being $500, it may be $300, $250, whatever it may be. Now we're looking at, and here are some of the Xbox ones. The Xbox Series X 1 terabyte going from $650 to $800. I think lower down here you have Sony going from $499 to $599, and even the Switch 2 has a $50 price increase. Consoles are getting more expensive, not less, as time goes on. This sucks.
This is a sequel to something we talked about last year, and I called it bullshit then, and I don't call it bullshit now. When Sony and Microsoft and prices started going up, and they blamed it on the tariffs, right? And I told you back that this is not a tariff thing. This is a tsunami thing. Like if you know anything about economic tsunamis, you don't look at something that happens today. If tariffs went into effect today, we're not going to have in prices today, because this hardware has been manufactured. You cannot tariff a product that's already been imported. Right? So if you have a product that's already been imported, it's already sitting on shelves, a tariff will not determine the price of that product on the shelf. It determines the price of future products. So the reason that everything gone up, the reason prices have gone up is because of, like you said, RAM consumption. It's a constriction of supply. So this happened last year. They can't blame it on tariffs now. This is for data centers, because where I live, we have like 3 data centers going in. Everything's going up. Data. I always tell people, I was talking to a friend the other day about, what should I do with a new PC right now? I said, right now, you should go to the store, buy some compressed air, some cloths, and take hella good care of your PC. You treat that thing like a princess. You clean it, you make sure everything's good. You don't wait a week for updating software. You don't want to mess with that. You hope and pray it doesn't break down, and you hope and pray it gets you through 2 years, because this is the worst time to buy something right now. It's really expensive. So, but as far as the prices going up, again, we can talk about this all day long, but this is. I was just a baby when this happened, but in the 1980s, there was another chip shortage, which also caused likewise very expensive upsurges in ROM cartridges for, you had Nintendo games in the 80s costing like $100 because they couldn't meet demand, right? And so this happens
they had to
once
print
in a while.
all those. They had to print all those ET games.
Well,
I gotcha, for the Atari.
Well, very famously, Nintendo brought out a device called not the bulky drive, the floppy disk drive. You can look it up. Look up Famicom floppy disk, right? And the idea was to get off cartridges and go to floppy disks, which are much more cheaper to manufacture. And a lot of good games came out of it. Metroid, Legend of Zelda, everything. But when the cartridges came down in price,
I've never seen this before. It looks like a.
It's fantastic.
It looks like one of those old viewfinder game, kind of kid toys.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, it was called Family Computer. But if anybody's interested, just as a little segue, if you guys want to experience time travel or parallel universes, go look up Japanese video games from the 80s. You're gonna be astonished. It's like a completely different world. That's the original Nintendo in Japan, the Family Computer, the Famicom, right? That thing had attachments. It had the internet. It had stock markets, word processors, those controllers attached to the system. There's a microphone on the controller. This was back in 1984, right? They lived in the future in Japan.
Insane.
You go to 7-Eleven, you could go to a kiosk and get a game printed out at a vending machine and take it home because the discs were rewritable. They were floppies. Crazy, huh? But
ridiculous.
But anyway, going back to today, we don't have anything like that. We're boring compared to them. But here's the difference, though. Sony's doing this because Sony turns a profit from their hardware. They still turn a profit, so they have to delay their price increase as much as possible. Microsoft is doing it for a very different reason. There is nobody buying Xboxes. I've always felt, I've said this before, they're doing this. They want this console off the market. They don't want you buying an Xbox Series X or Series S. They want off the market. If they let those consoles rot at retail, they'd have to buy them back. It would cost a major amount of money. They need to do a complete loss. They need a complete loss. So if you buy it, then they have to service it. They have to do all this stuff. You're not going to like them. They want this generation over with. They don't want to compete in this generation anymore.
As a consumer, I kind of agree. I am
Yeah,
ready for...
no, that's exactly what it is.
I definitely feel like I am waiting for the PlayStation 6 or the next Xbox to jump in, for sure.
It's just that these prices, but the problem is it's not going to solve the problem. The problem isn't the cost of manufacturing. The cost is the cost of procurement of the materials. If AMD is the one who produces the parts for the Xbox and the PlayStation, if Valve has the Steam box coming out, right? And as you saw, it's over $1,000. If we didn't have this RAM crisis, we didn't have this memory crisis, that thing would probably be around like 700, maybe 750, maybe 800. It'd be way less. It'd still be overpriced though, because it's not. See, Nintendo. I keep going back to Nintendo, but Nintendo can get away with this because Nintendo's not producing bleeding edge technology. They're not producing state-of-the-art technology. That's why the price increase doesn't really affect Nintendo very much. Like they're going up $150 per unit. Nintendo's going up $50. Like there's a reason why they can absorb this shock a little more because the technology is not bleeding edge. We talked about the MacBook Neo a couple months ago. The Apple thing. Apple could release that thing. By the way, Apple doing the exact same thing Microsoft's doing. Their prices are going up on everything. Everything's going up like $200, but they could still do it relatively cheaper because they're using existing technology that they produce. Microsoft and Sony are completely dependent on Chinese manufacturing, and they're completely dependent on supply chains that they can't control. Who retired this year? Tim Cook from Apple, right? The reason Steve Jobs picked Tim Cook, the number one reason Steve Jobs picked Tim Cook, is because Tim Cook was the great hair, but he was the best in the world at manufacturing supply lines. He was the one that completely, on Monday, people were waiting 20 hours in line to buy an iPhone. They were hiring homeless people to wait in line. There was a whole gray market of secondary people scalping. When Tim Cook took over, gone. It completely disappeared.
the Futurama episode about
Yes.
Apple and people, kind of going in. It's like, I'll go in the back and check and see if we have one. And he just reaches back there and there's like a million of them.
Yeah.
And he just pulls
Like,
them
let me
out.
go see.
Yeah.
By the way,
the ability that's something that's super exclusive and super, super valuable, and Apple was able to make a million of them and still keep that image.
That's one of the best Futurama memes. Remember? Shut up and take my money. But
Yep.
but you remember that? You remember the lines, right? Gone. The whole scalping market gone. Meanwhile, people are now. Our good friend Corey Gallagher, remember him? He won a Steam box in a lottery. Oh, sorry. He won the opportunity to pay $1,000 for a Steam box in a lottery. So he's going to get it. He's going to get it this week. But I was like, Corey, you're a PC Master Race person. You're not going to play this thing for more than 10 minutes. But he wants to have it. He likes to collect it. But poor people are going to eat him alive. But anyway, this problem is never going to be solved at this rate, because I don't see an end to this RAM crisis. I don't see an end when a company like NVIDIA, who for years people associated as a video game company, only, the most profitable company in the world, only makes like 4% of their profit from graphic card sales. Like, you as a gamer are non-existent to them. You as a gamer, like you're asking AMD to go back to the slums and to go back and make pennies on the dollar as opposed to quadrupling their profits. Like,
you as a gamer who televangelizes NVIDIA and all them, that you are essentially a walking, talking billboard for their true business. You are, just kind of singing their praises. But yeah, they've definitely moved on. I mean, and I think we're gonna move on from this whole conversation too. But I will say that I don't know if there's an end or not, but gamers have definitely been. I dare say it. Gamers have been marginalized. They are such a suppressed group right now.
They did it. Yeah, they did it to themselves. I'll tell you this. Have you ever heard of a Japanese developer, engineer, I should say, called Gunpei Yokai?
Sounds familiar, but no.
Okay. Okay. You are so familiar with what he's done, right? This guy invented the Nintendo controller and he invented the Game Boy, right? Like, a genius, absolute genius. Killed. Some people say murdered. But he has a very good philosophical design about technology. And Nintendo's used it for years. A lot of companies use his wisdom, right? But his saying was lateral thinking with withered technology. The idea is that you don't innovate necessarily through power, you innovate through application, lateral development, as opposed to like Sony and Microsoft would say, well, to play Grand Theft Auto 6 the best, we're going to need you to rebuy hardware all over again, start all over again, just so you can get 10% better graphics. Nintendo's like, here's a 10-year-old chip, make it work. Like, you innovate through software. You find a way to expand the market through software innovation and through gameplay innovation, as opposed to necessarily technological. And for a company like Nintendo, which is worth like 10% of what Microsoft's marketing budget is, right? Let's be honest. If Nintendo made 1% of the mistakes Microsoft does, they'd be out of business. They wouldn't survive. They couldn't absorb it. Same with Sony. Sony's huge. But that's why I think when we talked about the disk problem and the retaining ownership, I think they're making a foobar mistake of epic proportions, because they're not Sony of 1990 anymore. They're not the giant they used to be. They've sold off most of their assets. They don't make TVs anymore. They don't make Discmen. They don't make residuals from CD-ROMs or Blu-rays like they used to. They're like a gambler who's cashed in all their chips. You know what I mean? And that's why I think the short-sightedness is crazy. And so I don't think this is happening in a bubble, or a vacuum. I don't think just saying Sony and Microsoft are raising their prices because of chip shortages. I think they're doing it for very different reasons. I think Sony's doing it for survival. I think Microsoft is doing it for survival, but different survival. I think Sony's saying we need to survive past this. I think Microsoft is saying we need to get out of this. And I think Nintendo's just like, hey, we're still here. We got Star Fox.
Like, yeah, we're doing our own thing.
We got Star Fox. You don't need that Grand Theft Auto, but we got Star Fox. But the industry is very interesting right now.
Yep. So we're going to transition now to another topic here where I think we're going to wrap up the show where we talk real quick about this whole Sam Altman movie and that kind of thing. But that'll be the end. I want to get one more, and the length of this episode fully depends on how long Nathan can go on about this one topic.
Oh, I'll be chased.
I'm curious because social media bans in Australia have started to take effect. Social media bans are being considered in a lot of countries. In the
England.
U.S., I feel in England, I feel like the conversation of social media bans has largely not really kicked off here in the United States, and you could say that's, again, this touches on the political, but let's just say a lot of money is flowing to Canvas DC with, not regulating this kind of thing at the moment. But there is a large movement across the world about regulating social media for kids under 16.
Yeah.
So Nathan, I wanted to talk to you real quick. I'm going to throw up this poll up here on the screen. You can check that out. For those who want, it'll be in the show notes as well. But real quick, Nathan, how do you feel about banning social media for 16-year-olds and under?
I have two opinions of this. On one hand, as an adult, if I'm being honest with you, and this is not just, the kids are going to be all right situation. This is not like, you're just an adult, you're clueless. I think social media is toxic. I think it is toxic to a level that people do not quite understand. I think it is way more dangerous than cigarettes. I think it's way more dangerous than guns. I think it is the most toxic medium ever created. Children should not be exposed to it. Their brains have not developed. They are susceptible to manipulation, especially women. And I think women and children, men are different. Men are exposed for different reasons, for different stupid reasons. I'm just saying, but women typically tend to be the major users of it. And I know the liberal side of me says we should need to protect these people, and the conservative side of me says, well, freedom. But freedom does have limits. We put regulations on cigarettes, we put regulations on guns and tobacco and adult products, and because we understand that children's minds cannot absorb some of this information. And if you've ever seen, you hear stories about 10-year-olds committing suicide and rapes happening in Fortnite and all this stuff. It's because instead of blaming the children, we should blame the parents. Like, your child should not be left alone on a computer without supervision. They should not be left alone. Sorry. And you complain, I'm going to sue the company that did ChatGPT. I'm going to sue Nintendo. I'm going to sue Epic. I'm going to do. How about sue yourself, you dumb person? You cannot leave your child alone.
Definitely feels like social media up until a couple of years ago definitely almost like escaped the kind of and everything that you said about it being dangerous and it being highly addictive and it being toxic. I'm just saying social media really by and large did avoid the negative connotations because everyone was using it. Everyone was using it. So how can it be negative?
No, because it didn't avoid it though, Ben. See, when I was a kid, there was a God bless the 80s. There was a toy called lawn darts. You ever heard of lawn darts?
Oh yeah,
the giant
stabby toy. Yeah.
You literally throw it in the air. One person got killed or hurt, gone. Products are gone. Like, it didn't take much for people to realize maybe throwing skewers through the air was a bad idea. But in the last 10 years of TikTok alone, we make jokes about kids eating Tide Pods, jumping out of cars, eating overdosing on Benadryl. Like, there are thousands and thousands of things. Plus, you have the teen rampages, you have the mobs, you have probably millions of complaints, millions. But why don't we do it? In fact, the first Trump administration tried to ban it, then the Biden administration tried to ban it, then the new Trump administration, they get to that point, we're not going to ban it. And I'll tell you what the real reason is. The real reason. Politicians were totally cool with social media because they were the drivers of social media because all the demographics, all the polling, you got this off The Verge, this is a perfect example, skewered thinking, is that because every trend said that young people under the age of 18 were trending to be socially liberal, to be very, progressive ideals. And you had organizations that would go on these mediums and take advantage. And it was right at the time. At the time, it looked like 6 out of 10 children, maybe even 8, were going to vote a certain way. They were going to activate. This is where you have the rise of activism, and you have every day there's a new protest rally outside. You live in a town where this happens every day, and this happens all the time. But then something happened in 2020. It started to reverse. And suddenly the demographics started to change. And suddenly we had the rise of the far right. We had the rise of this. We had the rise of extremism. We had the rise because kids weren't necessarily voting the way they wanted to. They weren't graduating from childhood to adulthood and registering as Democrats or liberal progressives or socialists in certain places. Hate to be political, but it's true. And this was really happening in England and Europe. And suddenly you had massive social media campaigns that were very successful, that were breaking apart sort of that, like in England, they have like 400 parties, right? I can't even get into it. And it was so successful. You had Brexit. It was so successful. You had the rise of, like, you had like 20 different prime ministers in like 6 years because they couldn't control the message anymore. And it's really interesting that, you know, you had the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer in England, announce this policy that they were going to ban social media, and then he resigned like 2 days later. Because the problem is, you want to control, I told you at the very beginning, of the show, it's like the people who like monopolies and the people who like this stuff are the ones who we tend to favor it. So we're totally cool with social media. Like I told you about the Biden administration trying to ban TikTok. On a Thursday, they announced they were going to ban TikTok. On a Friday, he joined TikTok. So because this is the problem, is because why would you give away the power? It's like NVIDIA making all this money off data centers. Why would you go back? Like you have the most diabolical thing to control people, and that's Republican or Democrat. It's like you control people. Like Trump, he's a buffoon on social media. He does outlandish things because he knows his followers will follow him to the end of the earth. Same with Democrats; they will follow him to the end of the earth. The problem is, forget all that for a second. Forget all that politics. That's one layer of it. But what the social media bans are really about have nothing really to do with politics. Has a little bit. It has to do with registration. You talked about digital IDs, because the enforcement of social media bans would require the adult to upload their driver's license or to upload their passport. It would require data retention. And yeah, we already do this in America. This was a big deal about 2 years ago with porno sites, with adult verification, Pornhub, all these places. They opted out because, again, you had states do it. You had states say, as an adult, you need to upload your driver's license so you can crank one out to this trans porn or whatever. I'm not going to do that.
The children,
because what's going to happen if that gets leaked? You're over. Your career's over. So every time you have a policy, here's a good rule of thumb. This is going on since the day the Earth was created. Every time you have a political policy or a program that says it's about the children, it has nothing to do with the children. It is because who's going to say no to the children? Who's going to say no? It's about creating databases of information because, again, in England, if you have a digital footprint, you can go to jail if you tweet something offensive. Did you know that? They will come to your house and arrest you. You will go to jail. The problem is, we don't know what offensive is. Offensive could change. Offensive could be today, you could say, forgive me, this is not my view. But you could say, oh, I don't like those immigrants. Okay, it's protected. They could pass a law saying you can't say that. I don't like those immigrants. Oh, hate speech. Like, it changes. They don't have the same protective classes that we do in the United States. In the United States, we will go to battle to defend the most offensive, derogatory, racial stuff you can imagine, because we don't want someone in government deciding that you said enough. So we tolerate a level of this horrible speech because we know that if you start criminalizing it, it allows a growing light of authoritarianism and fascism. Europe, sorry, we got a history with this stuff. America, we have a history of killing it. So when I hear an outgoing prime minister talk about this, when I see Australia do this, but I also see videos of people being arrested because they said something, or they tweeted a meme. That's, you can see
there's going to be those lines to walk. I did just want to bring this whole conversation up because it is not just happening in one place or another. I think most countries out there, and you could look at places that don't have traditional social media as we know it, where you have China, which has implemented strict
China's the best
verification policies to use social media. You can look at places that don't have other traditional social media. I'm thinking like Russia and other Eastern European countries that use what's that one? Not Slack, not Line, whatever it is. But they're all looking at
Telegram, right?
Telegram.
But listen, China is the best example. Thank you for bringing it up, because China doesn't do any of this. China bans their kids off social media. They've done this forever. You're not allowed to be on certain social medias. And you know how they enforce it? They run social media. They run what you call a super app. They call it WeChat. Now, the smart kids know how to get around it, but even still, there's perimeters. WeChat is everything. WeChat is like Apple Wallet on steroids. has your driver's license, so whatever your social security number is, your bank account, your car insurance, your driver's, everything has everything. Your social media, everything is WeChat. It's all controlled. If you call the Prime Minister Xi Winnie the Pooh, you're going to be your social media is going to. I mean, your social media is going down.
And you're going to get arrested. Yeah.
But at a certain point, you don't need to do that to the Chinese citizens because they've been sufficiently washed. Can I say?
I have heard that Chinese social media, in particular, is very very strange and nuanced in their coded language and talk, so that they can still say the things that they want to say.
Of course,
it's just keeping up with the lingo. It is ever evolving to evade those detection methods.
But the Chinese state government is so next level at this stuff that when you think you're being subversive, that's allowable subversion. They need to let you get off a little steam, right? They know this. They know you're doing this. What we're trying to do, we're trying to aggressively stop it with no repercussion. So we're trying to say, oh, kid, you can't go and, well, let me say this. I talked about politics a minute ago. And I talked to you about, TikTok, Twitter, X, whatever. Certain social media platforms are not adhering to it. Like in Europe, when they do it, Blue Sky is okay. Why is Blue Sky okay, but Twitter's not? It's not about fairness about policy. It's about the government exerting a certain type of contrarianism, controlism. And this is not controversial that I'm saying this. This is just how politics works. But the idea is to get every adult to have a digital footprint, a digital ID, so you could be tracked. So if you say something offensive, or you happen to, or again, forensics. Maybe if you commit a crime, this is why there's CCTVs on every block in England. Not necessarily because you're doing anything bad, but because if something bad happens, they can track it down. And it has been a net benefit for certain people. It has.
Okay. I'm going to say one more controversial thing, and then we're going to move on. My controversial thing is, I've been talking to my wife about this. I wish there was a social media site that verified every single user. And I knew that when I was engaging with a social media platform, everyone was a real person, because Reddit is kind of my go-to for just, wasting, doom scrolling, all that kind of thing. I think that place is like 80% bots. It is so hard for me to take anything seriously, Nathan, that I'm like, I wish I just knew that people were on the other side of the words that I'm reading, because I'm getting so fed up with the fake stuff.
I understand, and I wish that too. I sometimes when I'm on social media, and I still go on there once in a while, I just want to read something, but I'm getting inundated like Supergirl sucks, Supergirl's great, and that kind of bullshit and all this stuff. I just wish I want real people. I want real people, because back in the day, you had to go out of your way to be in the forums. You had to go out of your way to write a letter to the editor. You had to go out of your way, because who on earth would waste their time?
Worst case, you had someone who was like a power forum user who had like 3 accounts, and then they could kind of drive each thread as they saw fit. But now I'm seeing 10,000 upvotes. I'm seeing stuff and like just not good articles that are written by not good publications driving conversation that I don't feel like is actually happening.
I agree with you. I wish that was the case, but I disagree with you that I hope it's the case. And the reason I say that is because you have very bad people, you have very bad actors, you have very bad governments who will abuse that database, who will say, you've broken some law, you said the wrong thing. First of all, we will embarrass you. We will put you online. We know who you are. Like, again, I am
very embarrassable, by the way, for any large multinational tech corporation. I am so embarrassable. Yeah.
But again, it's sort of, you have cases in Europe right now where, and again, I'm not going to say any details. It's very traumatic for them. But you have cases where you have like a rape victim who was physically assaulted by people, and they speak out about like the ethnicity of the rapists, and they get in trouble because that is breaking a hate crime law. Like, that should not be. Like, there are certain parameters that should be sort of defended. And the idea is when you can label anything a hate speech, when you can label anything this, well, that's so nebulous. That is so nebulous. And then that becomes, like anything else, a mechanism of power enforcement. And if I have a database of everybody online, and there's a presidential election coming up or a parliamentary election, and I want to change minds, all I have to do is designate which words are offensive, and I can completely constrict the freedom of speech of an entire political party based on verbs. And you can't have that if you have an open society. You either have freedom of speech can be regulated, but it cannot be regulated at the source. It needs to be constructed and it needs to be abrogated by people who understand what that means. Like in China, yeah, they're not going to arrest everybody who calls Xi Winnie the Pooh. They're going to allow some of that because they need that, right? Or maybe even they want to like get you out of the open and see what you're doing. But they're not going to swiftly correct you. That's George Orwell stuff. That doesn't happen. It's Brave New World stuff. They allow you a little rope to hang yourself a little bit. So I agree with you. I hate the bots. Screw the bots. I want to have a conversation with a person in good faith. But I would say this, you will find those people. You will find them. I found you, you found me, we find other people. Like, and that conversation you have with those people is going to be much richer and more rewarding than having an anonymous conversation with someone with a cat emoji for a profile picture who's from Uzbekistan, who, me like to talk about thing. It's like, I get it, it's frustrating and you have to go a little extra harder to find it. But most good things are worth the effort a little bit. Yeah. And so anyway, it's another thing that we could talk about for a very long time.
It will be. This will not be the last conversation we have about this because, like I said, it's going into effect in some places. It's going up for conversation in others. And social media and kids is that's going to be, I think, one of those. Why isn't the drinking age 18 instead of 21? That's just a conversation that's going to happen for, I think, ad nauseum. But with that being said, on that lighthearted note, I think we're going to wrap up with one last story, and then we're going to head out, Nathan. Thank you, as always, for so much of your time. But I know absolutely nothing about, Sam Altman in general. But, hey, I hear he has a movie coming out. I know nothing about this whole situation.
Okay, there's two movies coming out. There's this movie coming out about Sam Altman, and there's a quasi-sequel to The Social Network coming out. The quasi-sequel doesn't star anybody. It's not from the same director as the David Fincher movie. It's from the same writer. What's his name? Who's the writer of the Social? Aaron Sorkin, right? Yeah. He wrote the first one. He's writing the second one. He's not a very good director. They had a trailer out. The actors look good, but they don't look or sound anything like them. So, but this is what we're at now. We're 15 years after the social network. And we are now in another bubble. We're in the AI bubble. So you have Sam Walton, who he was hailed as a hero a couple of years ago for ChatGPT, and now he's been thrown in the same Elon Musk rank. He's a villain now, right? Like that's what we do to our tech people. Amazon was producing this movie. Who's the director? He's that Australian guy. What is it? Ludo? Is it
let's see. Scanning the article, but yeah, director.
What's his name? I'm sorry. I have trouble with certain long names. The more vowels, the more I screw them up. But anyway, this movie was going to be very critical of Sam Altman. Apparently it's going to be really critical of Elon Musk as well, which is not surprising given the world we live in. But Amazon dropped it because Amazon has a deal with ChatGPT in the company now. And there's no real connective proof that that's the reason they dropped it, but that's kind of the reason they dropped it. And so Neon, the independent company, is going to pick it up and produce it. I don't know if the movie's going to be any good. Oh, Luca Guadagnino. What did he make? I know he made a movie that I really liked.
Luca Guadagnino.
Yeah, let me get the movie. Okay. Yeah, he's made some good stuff. He made the remake of Suspiria. He made Call Me by Your Name. Let me see. Oh, did he make the protagonist? Oh, I saw that. That's a long time ago. No, he's a good filmmaker, but he's very controversial. He does risk a lot of sex in his movies. So I don't know how they're going to have sex in this movie.
Yeah, you can't have sex in the tech industry. They're all nerds, and they all no.
Well, he likes doing queer cinema a lot, or risque queer cinema, and Sam Altman's gay, so I'm sure we're going to have a lot of hot, steamy
okay,
sex.
So yeah, you just sold the movie to everyone. Okay, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, that's what we want to see. Oh, he did do Challengers, that movie about the two gay tennis players. There we go. But anyway, we'll see what it goes. If you go to the library, if you go to the bookstore, there's so many like tell-alls about tech this and investigative reports about tech that, usually by like ex-employees who want to tell all, but they don't really have a cool story. There was one a couple years ago about Facebook, told by an insider, that was supposed to be pretty good. I haven't read it, which is why we're getting a second Facebook movie, I think about Cambridge Analytics. But but it's really hard to make these tech movies interesting if they're based on policy. See, if you're going to make a cool tech movie, you got to have interesting characters. Elon Musk, if you hate him or love him, he's an interesting guy. You can make a movie off him.
I think after, after, I think it was the movie just called Jobs. After the Steve Jobs biopic, I think
there was two. There was two.
Yeah, and I think those did so well that it kind of started the ball rolling on these huge, financially lucrative films. Yeah.
The one with Michael Fassbender, the Jobs movie, that was Aaron Sorkin, and he staged it as a Greek tragedy. He focused his movie not on his life, like the Ashton Kutcher one, which was terrible. He did it backstage behind the launching of 3 Apple products, like the Mac, the Next computer, and I think the
iPhone.
Was it?
I assume. Yeah.
No, way before this. It all took place way before this stuff, right? And it's just like, so it was all about like, they were using those interpolations like a play to like show how his life was a tragedy. Not a great movie, but kind of cool, like from a structural perspective. But no, I think the only 2 that have ever really gotten it right, I think there's 2. There's just 2. There's Social Network, again, with Fincher.
Yeah.
And there was one made for TV. What was the one with Bill Gates and Steve Jobs? Oh my goodness, Pirates of Silicon Valley.
Yeah,
that's the best tech movie ever made, by the way. It's fantastic. If you've never watched it, because it basically relegates the story to 2 human beings who are deeply flawed and they were frenemies, and how their 2 lives intersected, and it was mostly factual. But you mentioned Futurama a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
John DiMaggio, who plays Bender, played Steve Ballmer in the movie.
Oh.
And he was sort of the audience surrogate, and he would constantly like break the fourth wall to talk to the audience. It's a great movie. Like if you've never seen Pirates of Silicon Valley, it's really good. It came out like 1998, 1999, but it's timeless. You know what I mean? It's timeless just because it's about 2 flawed nerds who didn't know how to act.
I do feel like there's some value, and obviously when you make a movie, you dramatize things, and you can't take everything literally. Things happen in different order, and it's not always that big, aha, eureka moment. But I do think making these biopics and making these stories closer to the events has some value. If, even though we have articles written every day about every nuance and insider blah, 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 having a movie made of it had some historical value, at least in my mind, just because, like you said, 20 years later, you're going to get something a little bit more accurate than the romanticized past that I think a lot of people remember of Bill Gates and Steve Jobs. So
yeah, I don't like it when you have a wink like, oh, we know what's going to happen and therefore we're going to predict the future. We're going to show you how smart we are by how we predicted this. I will say the only similarity between The Social Network and this new Sam Altman movie is the kid who plays Sam Altman is Andrew Garfield, the actor.
Yeah.
And he was also the main character in the social, the one who got screwed over. I forget the one he played in The Social Network. But I mean, he's an interesting filmmaker. I just don't know how like a filmmaker known for like graphic sex is going to make a tech movie. So
I don't know.
It's not like the people were that attractive. Like it's not like the sex. Like there are some really hot tech people that are involved in scandals. Like there was that
Netflix series or movie that got everyone all excited, which was Heated Rivalry. So hey, maybe it's just the style that's in now. So trends are trends.
Yeah.
With that though, Nathan, on that high note, I think we're
not going to beat that.
No, we're not. We're going to end on that one. So, everyone out there, I want to thank you so much for checking us out. Nathan, unless you had any other topics, I think I ran you a bit long, but that's okay.
Just one.
Yeah.
Happy 4th of July.
Happy 4th of July. What are you doing for it? You have any big plans?
Yeah, yard work.
Wow.
Yeah, yard work.
I'm hoping not in the heat wave. I hope you're good.
No. But we live in a neighborhood where fireworks are legal, and there's like 15 different tents selling them. So it's going to be madness for about 2 days, and so it's already started. I have my noise canceling, otherwise you'd probably hear it. So, but no, we're going to stay out of the sun, stay inside a little bit, get the AC on. But we got 2 yards to mow, and we got a garden, we got all that stuff. So those don't wait. So
yep. ladies and gentlemen, get your dog the Dramamine that they need, and
Yes.
and just have an awesome 4th. Set off some fireworks, be safe. I want everyone here with all 9 of their fingers attached. And Nathan, thank you so much for coming on the show and having all these great conversations with us every single month. Everyone, if you want to catch more, hey, we have past segments that you can always check out. They're always very relevant. And come on out to computeramerica.com. We have a link to calcopia.com if you want an easy link there. And then we have a link to everything that we talked about and all the stories that we had shown today. So Nathan, thank you so much. And everyone out there, have a great, safe weekend and stay cool. Have fun. Catch you next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.